This is the Inspection Pros Podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join host Jake as we get insider knowledge from the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
All right, welcome back to the Inspection Pros Podcast. Today I'm very happy to have with me once again Dave Kogan, the Director of Integrations and Partnerships for Inspector Services Group. Dave, it's nice to see you again.
It's nice seeing you again.
So it's been over a year since the last time we spoke. The first episode that I had you on, it's been a while. The first episode I had you on was episode 22, Marketing, featuring Dave Kogan. Very creative title I had back then. And we discussed a lot of marketing topics. I know you not only are an expert in the industry and you know marketing in this industry, but you also have a unique perspective. You work in with a lot of the home inspectors, in whether it's mastermind groups or within inspector services groups. So you get to see a lot of the bird's eye view of what's the industry doing, what are the market movers doing, what's working, what's not working. So that's what I'm excited to have you on here today and talk about.
Well, great. I'm happy to impart the information. So
thank you. I appreciate that. So it's always a pleasure talking to you. And today I am excited to talk about marketing, mastermind groups, and the power of them. And then we'll talk a little bit about growth as well. And I'm sure that's tied into marketing and all that. So just for those who don't know you, I want to give you the floor for a second to introduce yourself, a little bit about what you do, anything you want to mention there.
Sure. So for those who don't know me, and I'm sure there's plenty who don't, I've been in the market in this industry, I should say, in this profession, as people like to say. Been in this arena since 2013, and originally started out with ASHI, with the American Society of Home Inspectors, and then in 2020 started working for one of my vendors, which was Inspector Services Group, or Residential Warranty Services, as some people know it, or as part of Nathan Thornberry's crew, as other people know it. But really came in and was to help him out and grow his his partnerships and his conferences and such like that. So, of course we have our own, as you mentioned before, the mastermind group, which we call Top 3.0. And people can join that. You could reach out to Mike Dorr and Tim Clark, not the BPG Tim Clark, but the other Tim Clark that works with Inspector Services Group. There are two of them, totally different guys. And if you're interested and you use products and services that we provide, whether it's the 90-day warranty, recall check, sewer guard, mold safe, leak protection. If you're using any of those services, you can definitely take part in our top group. And like I said, reach out to Mike Dorr. You can reach us on our website, go to inspectionsuccess.net, or you can reach him directly at mdoerr, MDOERR, at rwswarranty.com. And you can reach out directly to him about that. Or you can come to one of our conferences, and we do the Inspection Super Conference, and that's going to be September 9th through the 13th, and that's in Indianapolis. Hopefully it's a nice time of year. People will be able to drive out there, fly out there. It's an easy flight out. So it's an easy drive from a lot of different areas, and that will be a really good conference. Mike Casey puts on the education, and I'm managing the expo area. So we should have a really good conference this September. So that's really what I've been doing. Now working with Porch a lot since Nathan sold out a lot of his company to them. So being integrated with them has been a really great experience, and they've been just awesome to work with. So and we'll see a lot of new things coming down the pike, and that'll be really cool.
So I'm excited for a lot of new things coming down. But what I'm really excited to talk about today, because obviously anyone who just heard that knows that you're tied in with a lot of inspectors, you see a lot. So I'm really curious, what are some changes you've seen in the last year, and specifically regarding marketing? Have you seen a lot of home inspectors growing because they're changing marketing, or is there something else specific? What do you see in the industry going on in the past year since we last spoke?
Well, what's interesting in the last year is a lot more inspectors are getting involved in their own marketing programs in a lot of different ways. So before it was a smaller market was involved with social media and in their own digital marketing. There's been a lot of companies that have come into the fold that have really provided Google Ads, teaching companies how to use Google Analytics. There's been a new one called Digitaletics. It's Karam Shahzad who puts that on, and with a multitude of others that are out there that do it. But they really they're not just doing the ads and analytics for you. They're really helping you integrate and learn how to use it and how to read the analytics and see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And I think a lot of home inspectors have really embraced and said, okay, we need to be part of this. We need to do a Google My Business page. We really need to get reviews and testimonials on their on their Google page, on their Google My Business page, not just their website, not just Yelp, but on this very, very highly searchable platform. They've really been involved not just in their social media on Facebook or, some are on LinkedIn, some are on Twitter. A lot more are using Instagram. I've seen a lot more using TikTok, which I'm very, very impressed with to see that they're using TikTok for their businesses. Some use Snapchat, but I still don't see that being a good business model for anybody since everything disappears in 24 hours. But I also do see a lot of people really creating their own video product and such. So, I'm just very impressed. And they're finding other ways to market their business. They're using Thumbtack. They use Alignable, which is a small. It's basically a small business, but networking, kind of like I look at it as almost like a poor man's LinkedIn, but like it's more localized, which is great. And you can get in with your local chambers of commerces and create groups on there and networking platforms. I see a lot more people using networking sites, whether it's BNI or joining their chambers or something, but they're doing it all online, doing those Zoom meetings and being more involved in that. And really getting involved in like stuff like a Nextdoor app and such, like, maybe doing their own blogs, maybe doing their own podcast or radio show or something, but really embracing their marketing where, a few years ago they really weren't. So it's just impressive to see the growth really over the last year of inspectors where, I think the stat was almost like only 20% of home inspectors use something that was electronic or social minded or what have you. And I think that stat and within that 20%, it was really only a percentage of that was really involved in it. And now you're seeing, I think, a lot more being way more involved and taking a look at their website and saying, this is not that great. I really need to update this. What I created 20 years ago is not viable today. Creating specific landing pages, to learn about different products and services that they provide, and growing their businesses that way. And I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with what they're doing.
So there's been a lot of online stuff, and because there's so much you can do online, I want to ask a specific question. So I had an Instagram DM come through from a listener who wanted to know who had a marketing question, asked me to have someone on to discuss marketing. And while we have a lot of people on to discuss marketing, it's one of the more popular topics on this podcast. They really wanted to know what to focus on when you're just starting out. So this is a guy it's just him. He's a solo owner operator, and a lot of people that come on the podcast say, and you said this to me before we were recording, when we were catching up, you said not everything works for everyone, right? You got to know what your goal is, what's your vision, what are we targeting here? So we have a lot of people who come on and say that. And so there's all these changes going on this year. There's a lot of people using video and using different platforms online. What do you think is the best way for a solo operator to focus? What should they be looking toward, and what would you recommend is like the first thing they do? Where should they really be targeting when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, first things first. When he or she looks at their business and says, okay, how much time, how much money can I devote to my marketing? And when you're starting out, you look at the cost of everything. You're like, wow, everything costs money. You're getting your business, copywriting your logo, making sure that you've got a good website, making sure that you've got, your best way to answer the phone. If you're using a call center or it's just you, I mean, when you're just you starting out, a call center may not be for you right away, but maybe someone that answering phones for you, so you're not missing out on those calls. But the best thing is, like, a lot of people don't really look at a guerrilla kind of tactic, and that's really the grassroots marketing, and I think a lot of people don't put credence in that. And the other thing that they have to look at is the time commitment. You really need to look at how much time you want to add in to marketing yourself. And I think a lot of, and I think I said this a year ago, is that a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to become a home inspector, I'm going to be a carpenter, I'm going to be an electrician, because I know how to do these things. And they're like, wait, I have to sell myself? How do I do that? And so, do you need that elevator speech? No, but you should have a good line about who you are and what you do. I mean, like a goal that you just rattle off the top of your head really quick. Does it have to differentiate you in the marketplace? A little, but you're a home inspector. You're starting out. I mean, realtors know what a home inspector is and what a home inspector does. Do you have to give away the farm to the realtor? No. But I think you need to do some out-of-the-box thinking about, kind of look at what your competition is doing, and especially maybe some newer home inspectors in your area, and see what they're doing, and maybe think a little bit outside the box about what they're doing and how they're marketing. And I can't stress enough, I mean, obviously you want to have a Facebook business page because it's free, and separate that from your personal page. And I, again, can't stress that enough. I mean,
so important. Can you speak to that for a moment? Because I see that a lot where it's not separating.
Yeah, it's, I mean, everyone has, I mean, for the most part, even though that everyone, you read stats that Facebook is not doing as well, and it's, it's not the main platform anymore. Instagram is taken over, or now Meta, which is a combination of those two things, and maybe your business pages and whatnot. But it's, if you have your business page, and I'm helping out a friend who's doing staffing industry, so I can talk about this a little bit. But so he has his personal page and he has his business page, and when he's going out and trying to check in somewhere or create a post or something like that, you have to think about it. There's two different voices that you have. Your personal voice, if you're going to utilize your personal page, and that's stuff with your family and maybe your political views and the TV shows that you watch, the movies that you see, and the food that you're eating and the friends you're meeting up with. If you can definitely post that, but then if you're going to have customers come to that page and utilize your personal page and see your personal page, you can't have very specific views on there. Like, if you're one way politically, don't post that stuff. Maybe then create a totally different Facebook page for yourself. Because if you're going to have you can have a business personal page where you talk conversationally with people and connect with people as your friends. But then you don't want to be, you have to be running in the middle. You can't be more Democrat or more Republican. You don't want to put up posts that say that you're pro this or anti that, because you're going to be, quote unquote, pissing off half the people out there. You can't make everyone happy.
So this is so important that you said that, because you can't turn away customers. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, right, when you're just starting out, isn't your community what you want to target first? Like, you really have to nurture that community. So
exactly.
So I love what you're saying about being neutral, have a separate page. But I also want to go back to something you said prior, which was grassroots. When you're just starting like a grassroots or a guerrilla campaign, you can do that through networking and really ingraining yourself in your community by making connections and relationships within your community. So you had said before we started recording, we were talking a lot about masterminds. So I'm curious what you think about really having people, even if you're just starting out, going to masterminds. What's the importance of going to events or mastermind groups to really nurture relationships within your community, or even going to events where real estate agents in your community will be there, or influencers in your community? What do you think the power of really nurturing that community is?
The advice that you get, whether it's good or bad, is awesome. It's the best that you can get. It's better than money can buy, right? I mean, some of these groups you pay for. There's groups out there that you don't have to pay for. But if you're going out and you're meeting your peers, yeah, will they give you bad advice every now and again? Sure, but you don't know until you try it. And what worked for the and I'll briefly say this before I jump into the masterminds. If you're on a Facebook home inspector Facebook group and you ask a basic question and someone says that's been asked before, they're Debbie Downer and they're giving you, oh, that doesn't work. Well, it didn't work for them. You know, you got to remember that it did not work for them. You don't know if it'll work for you. You might be in a totally different population center. The makeup of your neighborhood might be different. The makeup of the community might be different. You just don't know. You know, the median salary for people, their income might be different. You just don't know. So you want to, you know, there's no such thing as a bad idea until you try it. So with mastermind groups, the great thing is that you will get some really fantastic advice from your peers. They're not there to tear you down. It's not like social media. And that's the main thing you have to learn, is that these networking groups are filled with single-man operators, multi-inspector firms, large companies, franchises, whatever. You might have a group that has multiple inspectors across multiple states in their business, and you might have the single man operators who are just killing it or not killing it, and they're starting out, and and some of them are trying new things, and then they're not, you know, and it's not working out for them, but they're keeping at it. You're learning from these people who really want to help and grow the industry. They're not looking to tear it down. They want to, beyond their years, you know, whether you're in, you know, with us, our top 3.0 group, which is our mastermind groups, whether you're with Inspection Go or Inspector Empire Builder, and Mike Crow used to have a group, and I know that's Inspection Go, I'm sure there's a handful more that I didn't mention, whether it's your state association has one, or maybe your national association has some of these mastermind groups, whatever they may be. I would not turn a blind eye to any of this stuff, because the advice is, you know, is fantastic, and these members really want to help you. You know, if you ask a question, they're going to give you an honest answer, good or bad. It's going to be an honest answer. They're not going to beat around the bush with it.
I've even heard people say that they met someone at a conference or an event that was over capacity with the jobs they were getting, and so they started referring clients
absolutely
through someone in their market.
Yeah.
That's like, that right there just highlights the importance of these relationships, of building like actual professional relationships, right?
Right. I mean, the peer-to-peer networking that you can get is, you know, I mean, like you said, I mean, they may have too much work, or they may have too many guys on vacation. And with the pandemic, you know, people have been shuffling all over the place, and it's still going on, even though it's still going on, it's not as, you know, as awful or as virulent as it was with all the vaccinations. So you have people kind of coming back and they're moving around, but you really want to make sure that you make these, you know, you make these connections and you keep them up, and you have to keep them up. You can't just like say, I met you at, you know, I don't remember, a conference a while ago, and we've stayed in contact. You know, like, you can't let go of these connections, whether it's, you know, you're on LinkedIn or Facebook and you see the birthday comes up, you wish them a happy birthday, you wish them a happy anniversary, but you need to also take it one step further. You need to constantly be in contact with people and make sure that the connections that you make are permanent ones, because again, you never know where that might lead. It might lead to a referral. It might lead to someone helping you grow your business. It might lead to you maybe selling your business to someone, and maybe working for someone else. It just, you know, or you leaving a business and going out on your own. It may lead to you growing your own internal network of staff, or you move to another state and someone's there in your networking group that says, hey, you know, I'm down here, let me take you under my wing and let me show you around. Let me show you how you market these people, or how you know, the good places to eat, or where you might find the realtors, or you might, you know, their haunts or whatever, or what groups to join, or, you know, places to exhibit and stuff like that. So you just never know where a potential contact may lead. You just, you know, so to kick that kind of stuff to the curb and that advice to the curb is tantamount to me, in my opinion, kind of ruining your own business. Why would you stick your foot in your mouth and, you know, and want to be a lone wolf when you can definitely be work well in that pack.
Absolutely. And so we are going to take a moment to hear a word from our sponsor, Pair Payments. But when we get right back, I want to get into a little bit of out-of-the-box thinking stuff. So we'll be right back.
The home inspection industry is highly competitive, and you need an edge to stay on top. You certainly can't afford to give profit away for no reason. But what if I told you credit card processors may be overcharging you and robbing you of profits you've worked hard to earn? It's time to put an end to being overcharged for payment processing. It's time to take back your profits. That's why we've put together a free report, How to Avoid Being Overcharged by Your Payment Processor. Head over to takebackyourprofits.com, download the report, and put an end to being overcharged for credit card processing. You've worked hard for your sales, and you deserve to keep it. What are you waiting for? Go to takebackyourprofits.com and download your report today.
Welcome back to the Inspection Pros podcast. We're back with Dave Kogan after our short break. So Dave, we were talking a lot about relationships and how to really nurture them and leverage them for your own benefit and actually for everyone's benefit. But at the end of the day, I'm also curious about how do you nurture, it's very important for these guys just starting out, how do you nurture relationships outside of home inspectors in your community? And I know that you had talked about some out-of-the-box ideas, so I'm wondering what outside-of-the-box ideas you'd recommend for someone to really get ingrained in their community, whether it's their town, with the realtors, the home buyers. What do you recommend as out-of-the-box ideas for that?
Sure. So, there's always ways that you can get involved in your community. And yes, you can join on the Nextdoor app and be very much behind your computer screen and do something like that. And it's your neighborhood, that specifically. So, I always say join your Nextdoor app, get on your neighborhood app. I think there's Neighborhoodly. I think there's another one out there. There's several out there, and you can do those things, of course. But, it doesn't hurt to join for a year your Chamber of Commerce, because now you're going to meet at their events, all kinds of things. And it's not just, networking events. They may have, cocktail hour. They may have a gala. They may have something. But, and within those things, you can always sponsor something. And you don't have to break the bank on sponsorships. You can always do a minor, small ad in a book that they might hand out. And while the small ad may not seem as grandiose as the full-page ad or banner ads or something like that, the reality is that you're still being seen. Adopt a highway. I don't know if anyone's adopted a highway before, but when I did something with my religious group in my temple, we had, as our men's club, we adopted a highway, and you get a sign on both sides of the street for both directions that announces that your group has adopted the highway and you're keeping it clean. Your name is up there, and guess what? 100% free. And how many times do you have to clean that highway, that roadway during the year? Twice. So, and you're out there with, you wear all your logoed stuff out there with all your people and go clean the road, and you take pictures.
Yeah, that's
so
free
easy.
Content.
Free content. Your logo, it's not on the sign unless your town lets you put a logo on the sign, but it's your name. So if it's the Inspection Pros podcast does it, their name is up there on both sides of the street. Pick a road that's well traveled in your area. Probably it's not adopted yet.
Wow.
You could do, it's that easy. You could go to, people are going back to the movies now. So guess what? They have advertising in your local theater. So, you know what? Big movies are coming out again. I don't know. I mean, the cost to actually put an ad up on those screens, sometimes it's just a slide. You don't need to do a video. You don't have to put in a huge expense to it. You could do a kind of a PowerPoint high resolution, but a PowerPoint, a couple of slides, and you put it up there about, talking to, and that's consumers. Of course, realtors obviously see movies. Home inspectors see movies. I'm sure your competition will be not thrilled to go into the next, the next big movie, the big blockbuster movie, and see your ad up on the screen before the movie starts. And everyone likes to get to a movie early. No one really races. I mean, it's very few people who come to the movie after all the previews, because people like seeing the ads before the movies. And so that's relatively inexpensive. Do I believe in park benches and bus kiosks? No, I don't. I don't think any of that works unless you're a heavily traveled town. Unless you're Chicago with the L and you want to put a billboard up on the L stops. Okay, that might work for you. Is there a huge ROI from that? people won't be calling you up and saying, "Oh, I saw you on the bus sign," because they won't remember where they saw you. It's just, if you're out there a lot and you're posting yourself everywhere, they're not going to remember where, but it's that recognition. The more they see you, the more they'll remember you. So if you do some interesting swag, or you exhibit at a local home and garden show, guess who's not at a home and garden show? Your competition. So you set up a table. It's not that much money to do it, and they do them throughout the year. Maybe sponsor your local garden club. Maybe, do a deal, or maybe sponsor something with your local landscape company. And one of the bigger name companies out there, they'll put your name on, potentially on signs or flyers. Or you can always if there's not gated communities or homeowner associations, but you can always, people walk by and put flyers and doors and such like that, or door knockers or whatever, and the door hangers. Put your name out there. I think Preston showed once the door hanger, and had like a little business card at the bottom. You could put your logo on it. It was a vinyl thing, so it was all weather, and you could put your business card in the bottom of it. And you know what? It was hang them on doors wherever you go. And every open house you go to, maybe you work with the realtor and say, "Hey, can I hang these here? Can I put a logo or something on your for sale signs?" I mean, you have to think outside the box. And really, if we're going to talk about realtors, and I've said this to a couple home inspectors, and I'm not sure if anyone's taken me up on it because it's not been in my own community, but instead of, of course, the main realtors that you want to talk to obviously don't go in the office, but there are still offices, and they're still populated with the up-and-coming realtors, which, of course, you want to meet them because they're up-and-coming. So today's lowly realtor in the office may be tomorrow's big top seller. It just takes one house or two houses for them to sell, for them to say, "I'm a big shot," and then they're moving on. So what I would do is maybe print up a ream of paper, or 2 reams of paper, or 3 reams of paper, whatever it is. So you're talking 1,500 sheets of paper, and print it up where your logo and your information is at the bottom of the page, and say, "Hey, can you use this paper to print up the listings that you stick in your window?" Yeah. They only use the top half of the page anyways. The bottom half is your info. So other other home inspectors are dumping off rack cards, they're dumping off business cards, they're selling candy dishes, they're doing all these other things that get in the office. But what you want to do is show consumers who you are. Without the and so you're helping the realtor. Maybe you work with 1 or 2 realtors in their office and you print up their information on it. It might get you ahead. And there's lots of different ways, if you think outside the box, of getting your information out there.
I love that, because you do have to think about, at the end of the day, who's your customer, and it's people in your community, right? And so, you're going to go through real estate agents and stuff like that, but I love what you're saying about all of these outside of the box ways that aren't necessarily expensive, that you can get your name out there in the community. And now when someone goes and buys a home, they think, "Oh, I want a home inspection," you might be the first name that pops in their mind just because you're top of mind.
Right. And you can sponsor a Little League game. You can sponsor, the local ice. If you're in a hockey town, like we're in a hockey town, sponsor the local ice rink. Especially for high school teams, they, high schools televise their stuff now in these different networks. And parents watch these networks. They want to see their kids. They want to see their teams win. Go ahead and sponsor those. Or sponsor the Little League jerseys. How many people see those jerseys throughout the year? And
the kids aren't just playing in those jerseys. They're running around town after, going to get ice cream or pizza with the jersey on.
Exactly. It's that simple. And the cost can potentially be nominal. It depends on what you're, if you're doing the hatch or you're doing the jersey itself. Everyone wears this stuff. And they keep it forever. Have you ever seen a parent throw away their kids' stuff? They don't until they move out. So, that stuff lives on.
And so I love it too. I feel like there's a second aspect to this. Is not only are you getting your name out there to the people who actually will pay for the home inspection at the end of the day, but you're also then giving back to the community. And I'm sure that gives some good faith as well.
It does. It's you're being strategic about it, right? You're trying to you're finding ways to promote yourself, but you're also, you're giving back to that community. So if you want to run for mayor one day, or if you want to be in public office one day, and there is a guy who did Michael Tucker, who does the Vanguard. He signs people up to do FEMA. He worked for Vanguard Home Inspection Services. He's not a home inspector. He signs people up, and then his company trains you to be a FEMA inspector. So if you go to ravaged areas, you can make money off FEMA. So I suggest looking into that. But he's the mayor of his town, and he's always posting stuff as the mayor of Dunwoody, whatever it is, North Carolina, South Carolina, whatever. And he uses that everywhere he goes. He calls himself mayor. He wears the badge that says mayor, But it's he's a small town, but it helps, and the more involved you are with probably local politics, the more people get to know you. So there's always that. And, of course, that's the stipend with that job as well, generally, so you get a little bit more out of it. So you're making a little bit more money. It helps you out. But, just getting involved and being involved with your community is always a good thing. And they have your community has events all throughout the year. I mean, they have the movie nights, right? I mean, they show some movie in the park, and they run 4 or 5 movies a summer. Sponsor that. They do. They might have music or concerts, in the park. You can sponsor that. So, and guess what? When you sponsor that stuff, it's not just your name is on a website. Generally, they put signs up. So, and you don't have to. I believe the village, your town, whatever, prints that stuff up. So you're getting them to pay for your own marketing. So as a sponsor, I mean, you're paying for that, obviously, but then they're creating all that signage that they could potentially use year after year after year. So, and it really looks great that that out of all these businesses and all these people who live in your town, that you're out there constantly helping, and it gets around that you're doing good things for your community. So there's always that kind of stuff.
It's great. That's all fantastic. And now, being that you see so many inspectors, you deal with so many inspectors, you know so many inspectors. I'm wondering, do you have any stories of a home inspector who really wasn't doing marketing when they first started, and then started some new marketing campaign or new marketing tactic, and you really saw their growth and really saw them kind of catapult themselves because of their marketing campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that they've grown because of it. It's just the more that you talk to them about, the more that they do. And
I know. I'm sorry to. Yeah,
sorry
to ask you such a loaded question. I know it's a super specific question. You talk to so many inspectors, it might be hard to pin one down. That's a good story, but we love stories on this podcast.
This is a member of the top group. I talk to him quite frequently. He's a home inspector in my area, Hank Sander, with Heartland Home Inspection. He's embraced swag. He's all about the swag, and he has grown his business by actually partnering up with some vendors and working. If they can't make it to a conference, he'll work that table for them, and he gets a part of the profits from them. So, and then he's a proponent of he loves their products. He works with Ferret, he works with Bully Bag, and he uses their product and swears by them. But I'm a person who's always, I've been in the swag industry myself, so I have that background. And a lot of what I find very interesting is a lot of people are like, oh, swag, it's garbage. They call it CPS, which is cheap plastic stuff, or the vulgar way of saying it, or cheap CMS, which is cheap metal stuff. But what someone needs to remember about these things.
Sorry, I'll let you finish right there, but thank you, because we are somehow still rated as a clean podcast, so thank you for letting us keep that rating.
You're welcome. So, I wasn't going to swear for you, but I think the thing that people need to remember is that the ROI of swag is what I consider a slow burn. If you do something that's decent, whether it's a decent pen, not these cheap pens, but you do a nice pen, it doesn't have to break the bank. You do something that's technology, right?
Like these ones, these big pens, highly recommend. Go check these out. Actually, sorry to interrupt, but I started
shop. It's a nice metal pen.
Yeah,
You know.
I got these. We started using these pens for pair payments because I went to an event. I loved the pen that an insurance company was using. I loved it so much that I kept using it for months after. And
Right.
their company name was in my mind, so I was like, you know what? The power of a good pen. I'm thinking now, why not get a pen that people are actually going to use? If I'm going to use
Right.
it, people actually use it. Yes, it's important.
Exactly. I mean, but it's gotta be like you can do a decent journal. You could do a decent pen. You could do a flashlight. You can do different things that people might use. Whether and I look at it this way: if you're doing something for home inspectors, right, or you're doing or realtors, so to speak, we're realtors. They're in their car, so do something for their car. It doesn't have to break the bank. You could do something for they're kind of running from place to place, but you could do a home office thing for their desk and whatnot, or something that they're going to carry around with them. And if you're looking at anything else, forget it. Like, know your audience. Like, if you're going to a home show or a gardening show, do something that they might use in their garden. Something that someone's going to keep around. It's not going to be just garbage just sitting on, that they're going to toss into a bucket and you'll never... Like, I love stress balls. I've been, throughout my 25 years of marketing, I've collected stress balls. I've got a massive basket filled to the brim with them. I've got a couple sitting on my desk that I find are my favorites.
Yeah.
Because they're unique and different. Like
You must be the least stressed person I know.
zombie corporate guy. They forgot to logo it. They just handed it to me. I'm like,
great.
okay, well that's a waste. But I love it. I watch The Walking Dead. I like the zombie thing. It's hilarious. So I keep it on my desk. But but I'm not looking at it and going, oh, because there's no name on it, I don't really recognize it. And again, a good hat. Like the hat you're wearing looks like a nice, good hat. So if you've got a good hat, like I've seen hats, and a lot of times they give away these garbagey hats. I'm never going to wear it. But if it's a nice hat, it's like I like it unstructured in the front so it flops, fits the head well, if it's stretch or I'm not a trucker hat guy.
Such an important point, Dave, because just like with the pen, this wasn't a unique idea that I just thought, hey, I'm going to have pair payments hats designed like this. I actually brought these hats up in a meeting because another company had given me one of these hats, and I wore it because I liked the hat. So you don't have to go reinvent the wheel here, just like we say with everything else in inspections. If you want to market with stuff like this, go find a pen you like, put your logo, go talk to the company that sells it, put your logo on it. If you find a hat you like,
Absolutely.
go to a local shop, get it embroidered. Now you've made a relationship with the local guy.
Absolutely.
And you got a good hat. So yeah.
Absolutely.
It is so important to actually get stuff that people are going to use, right?
Yes. And that's one of the best things, and I've talked with Hank quite a bit, bringing it back to Hank, but he embraces that stuff. I mean, he for his good customers, he might get them a Yeti, travel mug, You don't. Do you need to get them a Yeti? No, you can get alternate brands. It doesn't have to be Yeti. It's not that they're going to use the Yeti over something else. But if it's a good travel mug, they're going to use it. Or get I've now seen expandable travel mug cup holders in your car. So you stick it in your car cup holder, and then it expands out so it can hold those growlers or Yeti mugs or something that's not specifically made to fit in the cup holder. But if you get things like, there's even one that looks like a trash can, like a little plastic trash can, like a flip lid. But that's to put in your cup holder in your car. And it's like, okay, here's a place to throw my straw wrappers or miscellaneous little gum wrappers, whatever, and I can throw it in there. Or take the top off and use it as a pen holder, like a catch-all for stuff that, writing implements, whatever. But, he embraces that. And so I think he's grown quite a bit. And people look to him now because... he knows all about swag and what to give away. And I think the problem is that some people see it as, like I said, cheap plastic stuff, but the reality is that it hangs around, and the brand, and, you may not need a house now, you may not need one a few months from now, but one day you're like, oh, I'm going house hunting. Oh, I probably need to get a home inspector. Who should I get? Oh, I'm going to get, whatever company name, Heartland Home Inspections, because they got this really cool pen, or I got this nice Sharpie, or I got whatever it may be that they gave me, not some stupid magnet that has the calendar on it that's now long since past its, useful date. So, and I wouldn't necessarily give away car chargers and power banks and all that kind of stuff, because it's almost like you use it once and you lose it, or it's in a bag that you might travel with and it's gone. So I think that was a good story.
I love that story because, yes, we love the outside of the box marketing tactic, especially for a guy who's just starting out. You got to think outside the box to really get value for your money here in marketing. It's not like, the booming stuff the past few years has been the online stuff. That's always important. It's always going to be important. But it is important to do little stuff like this for your community. The reason why I love that story is because something you said about how he's now the swag guy. So if you can be doing this stuff, anything, pick one, and now it's something that people in your area are recognizing. You can then be like the expert that other business owners come and talk to you and ask, like, hey, how did you figure out to do this kind of stuff? And now you're making more relationships in your community, right?
Exactly, and it's I've met quite a few home inspectors along the way who've embraced something new or embraced something different. There's a guy friend of mine, he's a ASHI board member, Bronson Anderson, out of Virginia. A great guy with inspected homes. He's out in the middle of, he lives in like Waynesboro or something. So it's up, Charlottesville is, I think, the nearest town. But, he started embracing TikTok, and he's got TikTok users. And he's not just showing anything. He goes and inspects these really old homes, and he shows you some really interesting things of the home. And so, I think for followers, I follow this because I find it extremely fascinating because, I'm a history buff. I watch the History Channel. Granted, History Channel is now mostly Pawn Stars and Ancient Aliens, right? But, I like sometimes, even on HGTV where it's like mostly Property Brothers and, and House Hunters International. Really, every now and again, they have a show on there that shows you some of these old, aspects of a home and design aspects and different things and he's showing it. And I think he doesn't just show, sometimes he shows some faulty stuff that they've done in the house and some problems that he's found. But he's showing some old door knockers and some old the old latches and the locks and different aspects within the home. I'm like, wow, that's so fascinating, and I find that other people would find it fascinating too. Like they just see these old things, and not just, someone might say, well, I may want that in my home, that he's passing on some really interesting information. And one of the things he inspects a lot tends to be log homes, and he's so incredibly knowledgeable about log homes that he now does, presents on that topic. He has a 2-hour presentation on it, and it's fascinating. And so, he's kind of grown from just he's a one-man op. And so he's got this one-man operation. But I think he's grown, watching him over the years have grown, not just become within the ASHI board of directors, but he's now, and he didn't really get any notoriety from that. He really has it from, he talks about these log homes. He does TikTok. He does YouTube. He's on, I believe he does Instagram, and he does very interesting things. The guy sings, and he's got a great voice, and he went into some salt mine or something, I don't know, something, and he sang, I think, the national anthem or something, but it was just impressive to hear, hey, here's a guy who's, presenting some material out there. It's not all specifically home inspection stuff. He's a military veteran. He promotes that a lot, and that's gotten him a lot more stuff. It's not more, and it hasn't been rah-rah one way or the other. It's just that here's some information and very interesting things about him and the things that he inspects, and he puts it out there in utilizing all these different social media and other outlets. So that's, I find that and he's willing to lend a hand to anybody, and he says it in all his videos and all that kind of stuff. So that's been impressive, that growth. I think there's another home inspector in the Virginia area, Brad Lowry, and he was doing a competing podcast at one point, which is the podcast is not around anymore, but he travels everywhere in his Airstream, and he kind of shows you some stuff, and he shows you inspection stuff, but then he shows you stuff about his Airstream, and that's fascinating. So I think, people are finding ways that people like different things, and he's and these guys are putting it out there that might interest people beyond their job, so to bring in, what that tells me, and it should tell other home inspectors, is that maybe bring a little about you and your personal life. You don't have to talk about your family, if you have a dog, like I have 2 dogs, I love talking about my dogs, but like, I think bringing in some personal aspects of you to put out there, it's not just all business. You are human, and you're humane, and you've got some interesting aspects about you, and you can relate to people in many different ways. Maybe you play pickleball. Maybe you like to shoot hoops. Maybe you serve soup. Whatever it may be that you do, you should bring that aspect into what you do and kind of and showcase that. So I always applaud these guys who kind of bring out that aspect of them. So, and you can probably find those stories all over the place. So.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It is, we're in the internet age, obviously. It's going to be that way for
Right.
a while. So you're going to have to start at some point. And my thought process is, you don't have to get crazy with it. It doesn't have to be super expensive. It doesn't have to be like highly produced. People want to see the real you. So you're right. I mean, if you don't have the time, if you don't think you have the budget for it, go out there with your phone and just film what you're doing. Cut it up and post some videos.
Absolutely. I mean, there's fun stuff to do. I mean, and with, there's websites that will tell you all the funky holidays out there. And I'm a fan of that kind of stuff. Like, I think it's funny to see all these funky holidays. Not just the Nurse's Day, Doctor's Day. Well, today is Chocolate Covered Pretzel Day. Well, that's great. Go bring, maybe go buy a bag of Flips chocolate covered pretzels and give them to give them to people that you see and say, hey, happy, tape, create a sticker of your logo and slap it on a bag and say, flip the switch on your home inspection or something like that. Happy chocolate covered pretzel day, whatever it may be, but do something kind of out of the box, and again, doesn't break the bank, and you're promoting stuff. And you could do it in the park. You could, set up a table, get a permit for that. I mean, I'm sure, the cost to just set up a table in a park on a nice day, if you're not really working, and just talk with people about, hey, do you have issues with your home? Do you have, what kind of questions you have about maintaining your home, or, anything that would get your name out there. It doesn't have to be at the public library, since a lot of people aren't going to that anymore, or your local hardware store, but go where people are and promote yourself, and be out of the box, and also network with your peers. So, yeah.
So it's just hilarious because you said that, and then I looked up some of the holidays in May. One of the holidays in May is National Sea Monkey Day. Unfortunately, we missed it by 10 days. It was on the 15th. But hey, next May 15th, you can go get some sea monkeys or something.
There's a million days. There's a million things out there. And you can, there's like, and there's funky days. There's like World Toilet Day. I mean, it's like, okay, why is there that day? I have no idea. Some of these have links that you can actually follow and go find them. But, you could, on that day, post on your social media, hey, happy hashtag World Toilet Day in honor of this celebrated holiday. You should check your tanks to make sure that they're working, or that the water's clear, or whatever it may be that's fascinating about toilets. Or maybe mention that the man Thomas Crapper is not the guy who invented the toilet, which many people think, mistakenly think.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that out there, and you can put funny posts out there. So
it's interesting to be that what you're saying here is not necessarily home inspection focused. To get attention online, you want to have a lot of home inspection stuff so people understand who you are, what you do.
Absolutely.
You don't have to always you can post interesting, wacky, funny thing to get some attention, right? That's what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. And you can be as straight-laced as you want. However, I think there's a humanity to everything that you do. People want to relate to you, and if you're constantly being very straight-laced, you're going to find certain people that are very straight-laced. But if you're putting information out there about, for realtors to help, do-it-yourself projects, or, something that you find interesting, or something that you might find funny that's not, obviously not hitting these cardinal sins, and don't be dirty about it, don't be perverted about it, don't be gross about it, but you find something that's almost dad joke level humor, you can put it out there, and and split up the serious stuff that you're putting out there. And you can be humorous, tongue-in-cheek about what you do as well. So, I will share this story about kind of funny. When I started working with ASHI, our PR firm said we should get a Pinterest page, and I'm still a fan of Pinterest, and the main reason for home inspectors to be a fan of Pinterest, even though that Pinterest is losing members like crazy. The thing is that one of the main demographics about Pinterest is that it's 25 to 45-year-old women are on there, and who really initiates the house hunting? It's generally your spouse. It's generally the female population that really does the house hunting. I think guys look at it a very different way when they're looking at homes. Women are looking at that kind of stuff. They're looking at the do-it-yourself projects. And by the way, before Instagram was really out there, realtors are all over Pinterest. And the sad thing is that I noticed on that is that the top 10 things home inspectors look when doing a home inspection, these infographics that are put out there are not put out by home inspectors. They're put out by realtors, which is very disturbing. So if you have the time and you know somebody, or if you know of an app that you can go and do that on, go create your own, and then give it to the realtors so then they can post it with your logo on it, not theirs. That's number one, because the realtor should not be doing it. You should be, as a home inspector. So, but the thing with Pinterest is that you can create the different bulletin boards, right? So at the time when I created it for ASHI, what book was popular among women? It made a really awful movie with Dakota Johnson, Jamie Dornan, right? 50 Shades of Grey. So we have a bulletin board called 50 Shades of Grey. ASHI does. And if you go to the American Society of Home Inspector page and you look up 50 Shades of Grey, they're all pictures. They're the postcards from the field that our home inspectors that their members sent in. But they're all pictures of some kind of fix-it that they found made with duct tape. So that's 50 Shades of Grey. And so when you tag things 50 Shades of Grey and women are looking up 50 Shades of Grey on Pinterest, the ASHI page 50 Shades of Grey would pop up, but it's all repairs done with duct tape. So, or cute and cuddly pets like rats and mice and snakes and stuff fried in circuit breaker boxes, or raccoons in crawl spaces and snakes in toilets and stuff like that. That came up. So people are looking that kind of stuff up. So you have to be a little bit creative on the sites that you're on. And I will say this, one of the infographics that I created for ASHI, and I now created on my own again, was for Friday the 13th, and it comes 3 times a year, Friday the 13th. Do something about that, about superstitions in the home, and use maybe pictures. Everybody loves those images. They love them. That was the most asked for infographic I think I ever created. So you just have to think outside the box about some of these things. So yeah.
That's great. That's great stuff. And so I didn't know exactly where we were going to go with this podcast, but I'm glad that we got a lot of that outside of the box stuff in, because now as we've gone through this, I really want this. This is a great episode for a guy who's just starting out, needs to figure out how to start gaining some traction in his community online. This is great to get into the details of it, of what you should be doing that's low cost, that at the end of the day is going to give you some traction in your community. It's great marketing tactics.
Yeah, some great low cost, no cost ideas. So when you're thinking at home, I mean, your local library, right, sends out a booklet every season. Look through it and what they're doing, and maybe say, oh, I want to join that. I want to do this. You're a public library patron. It's free for you. Get with your library, get involved. And get involved in your community. I can't stress that enough, because your community will then come to you. They may not go to that guy one town over. They'll come to you because your name's all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been fantastic. Thank you, Dave. My last question to you is, what do you see people doing that, if you're a home inspector just starting out, that this whole episode has been targeted to, what do you avoid? What are you seeing out there, Dave, that you would say, do not do this. This is not going to go well for you?
You should not have, really, if you're on, especially on social media, vocal anywhere, but stop being vocal about your political parties. Stop doing that. And stop posting on other people's pages or sites. Don't get into arguments. Don't provoke people. And if someone's posting something that you don't agree with, you know what? You have the opportunity to not respond. So, anything that's public facing is searchable. So if I go into Google and I type your name in and your company name or however you're presented on social media, all those posts come up. And so I may not want to work with the guy who's all for reversing Roe v. Wade. I might not be, or I might be for that. But you're ticking off half your constituents, half your business, and you don't know who they know. And that's the big thing, is that you don't know who they know. They might give a review for you and your character before they even use your business. Yeah. I will never use this guy because he's so outspoken about such and such. Don't do it. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I don't care what you're for, whether you're for, pro, or against abortion. I don't care if you're pro or against guns. I don't care. Stop posting about it. Like, you should, pro-military, anti-military, stop posting about it. Just stop, because you don't know what business that you're losing because of these posts. And you don't know what people are sharing or what they're saying about you unless you really do a deep dive search about yourself and realize what people are really saying about you. So I would not post any of that kind of stuff. And I see that, those outspoken players, they're on social media a lot. They're the ones who are responding to literally everything, but they're not working because they're online responding to stuff. So social media is a very good place to be when you're starting your business, but it's also very detrimental if you're very outspoken. So, if you are an outspoken person, you can maybe write a post, have someone else look at it before you post it, or maybe walk away and then come back and look at it and go, nope, shouldn't post that. And don't hit send, don't hit post, don't hit, publish. Don't do any of that. Don't write blogs. Don't write anything that paints you in a bad light, to one person or another. Now, you can't please everybody, but if you're, 80% of the people are out there, there's obviously people out there who aren't looking at this stuff. They don't care. They just basing stuff on reputation. But they may not want you in their house, for that matter. The masks, anti-mask, don't post it. Stop posting that stuff. So, and don't be on video, and don't take pictures of yourself, doing all that stuff. Like, oh, here's my gun collection. Well, the person who's anti-gun or would like better gun control may say, nope, I don't want that guy. I don't know if he's coming into my driveway with a gun in his car. They don't know. So they don't want that. So, I just can't stress enough to stop posting that kind of stuff, or don't get involved in it. Just, you can always walk away. You can flip down the computer screen or whatever. You can turn off your tablet and your phone. You don't need to get involved, and don't.
It is great advice, because I'm sure as you are, and so I don't post. I don't post political stuff. I don't post anything that would aggravate anyone for that exact reason. But I do see a lot of it in a lot of groups, and it's not just inspectors. It's all home services. It's all all service providers. You do see in these communities a lot of people who piss off or malign potential customers because of their views. If you could just hold your tongue, you might be able to get
well, and it's not just potential customers. It's your fellow providers. You're part of one association, not the other, and you guys are bashing each other all the time. That's searchable, and it looks bad. Why are you bashing your fellow service professionals? What's wrong with you?
Political stuff, right? It is affiliations, groups, anything.
Yes.
It's always better to talk highly of people than...
Absolutely. It's either, we all learned it as kids, if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. That's where, if you've got anything from your childhood, it is that. Especially in the social media world that we live in now. Because it's so easy to post. And even though it's anonymous, there's those breadcrumbs that come back to you. And they will come back to haunt you. So, I can't stress enough. Stay away.
So thank you, Dave, for leaving us with that great golden nugget to end it. That's important. You see it a lot. So thank you, Dave. Is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Well, I mean, again, we have an Inspection Super Conference coming up in September. Porch will actually be hosting Inspection Fuel, They've been going state to state, city to city, but they'll have a national event coming up in November, and that will be in Nashville. Mm-hmm. So, definitely mark your calendars. You can go. I believe Inspection Fuel will have its own website. I'm sure it'll be inspectionfuel.com. I can't. Let me say, I'm not sure, but I think that it's inspectionfuel.com. I haven't seen a website for it yet. And if you definitely are interested in our product and services, you can always go to inspectionsuccess.net and reach out to us about any of our services that we provide. And reach out to you can definitely reach out to myself or Mike Dorr or Tim Clark, anyone in our company. We're here to help you.
So if someone loved what they heard today and wanted to talk to you, ask you some advice, ask you some questions, how does someone reach you?
You can reach me by email at dave@rwsisg.com. That's obviously my work address. I give up my phone number, but it's my cell, so I don't necessarily want to just give out my cell number. But definitely, you can reach me by email. That's the best way to reach me. I'm like anyone else. It's attached to the hip with my phone and with my electronics. So you can definitely reach me about any of this stuff.
All right, and don't worry, to everyone in the audience, I'll be posting Dave's cell phone number in the title of this episode. No, I will not be doing that. But thank you, Dave. Thank you for sharing all this great information. Thank you for being so willing to share and communicate and have people reach out. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, anytime. I love talking with you guys, so I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are great.
Thank you. It's a pleasure as always. And thank you to the audience for tuning in again. As I say every episode, because it's true, we have a fantastic roster of guests coming to you in the coming weeks. Stay tuned. We actually have just gotten back from some events. We have now people are asking if we could have specific guests on. So like I said in prior episodes, DM us on Instagram, comment on YouTube, reach out, engage with us. Let us know what topics you want to hear. Let us know who you want to have on the show, because we're willing to talk and have anyone that has something great to share on the show. So we have a fantastic roster of guests to come. Engage. Let us know what you want to hear. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere. But also, please rate the show. We've been getting a lot of listeners from all over the country. The show's really growing, and we really appreciate it. So please, if you don't mind, rate the show so that other people give it a chance. And let us know what you want to hear, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pros Podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.